Hey mates, good morning. It is Wednesday, January 5th, 2021. I'm over by the Charlotte Harbor at the moment, close to Port Charlotte, as a matter of fact. I've been to this spot before, but it's actually been a while. Actually, my pops and my stepmother, they used to live in Port Charlotte. So actually, when we first acquired these kayaks, this was one of the most common waterways that I would go exploring. Let's just say it was this particular area where I really had a chance to expand upon my kayaking skills. But what was neat too was the old place that they lived at. Directly behind the house was a canal, so it directly connected to the Charlotte Harbor, which is where I am right now. But at the moment, we're actually in a little bit of a like an enclosed space, sort of like a lagoon. So what I mean is, behind me is a complete opening into the Charlotte Harbor, but then I'm kind of like in a horseshoe enclosure, or the shape of a horseshoe. So actually, this is a really great place for something called oyster beds to develop, as well as even seagrass that you're seeing in the water. Actually, I believe a lot of this is something called manatee grass. So it's a bit more what you call rounded, and it's also thinner. Kind of like angel hair pasta, like something to compare it to, in terms of its shape. But going on the subject of oyster beds that you may find out here, you always have to be careful whenever you are walking near it. I say that because even though it's rare, it can still happen to someone, but a person can contract Vibrio. That is essentially a type of bacterial infection that can happen in your bloodstream as well as your skin. So usually how it happens is if you get like a cut on your foot, for instance, from stepping on the sharp oysters, that bacteria has an opportunity to essentially enter into your flesh. Now, I know it sounds rather morbid, because what can happen is then your blood becomes tainted with the bacteria, and your skin, if it's really irritated enough, it can start bubbling. So, despite having those types of symptoms, it really rarely happens, to that particular severity. But it can still happen, though. So just because you think, oh, okay, it doesn't really happen all too often, you don't want to take your chances either. So honestly, since I didn't bring any water shoes, I have to be a bit more observant if I do decide to walk anywhere. Now, the thing is, with this bacterial infection, it is indeed treatable, but it definitely requires hospitalization. So, it's something worth noting. If any of you ever decide to come out here and just start walking, honestly, it's just better safe than sorry to just bring water shoes with you. And you can also contract this infection by consuming raw oysters or any other shellfish. And that can be tricky sometimes, Like whenever you eat seafood like that, you're always taking your chance. So you just have to really keep those fingers crossed and know, or hope, that was indeed cooked properly. So, aside from that, I want to give you guys an opportunity just to appreciate the sereneness of the water. Much of Charlotte County's water source comes from both the Peace River and the Charlotte Harbor. Now, we're essentially in the area where the Peace River has an opportunity to empty out into the Charlotte Harbor itself. So thus, we're really having a mixture of fresh and salt water, which also creates brackish water. Thing is, though, even though water is, of course, a common resource that we all need for survival, water can be a tricky subject, in terms of management. And I say that because what can happen every now and then, especially here in Florida, is every now and then, if we have like extra rain and overflow, sometimes our water supply can be tainted from wastewater and stormwater. Thus, it can subject our drinking water supply to contamination. Typically, what wastewater plants have to do is they have to filter out any of the impurities that may be in the water. I mean, of course, there are always impurities, but they try to get it to a point as to where there's very minimal toxins present in the water, thus making it safer to drink, as well as filtering out any of the excessive nutrients such as phosphates and nitrates. But usually both stormwater and wastewater are two separate entities, so that it is not combined in any sort of way. And here's one thing you do need to know, you guys. There is no such thing as new water. Sounds crazy, right? All water has existed in this world for millions of years and has practically remained unchanged. Now, some of you may think, like, really? How is that the case? Well, here's a kicker. So, like this water, that's beneath me, or even the water that we drink out of our sinks at home, at one point, even the dinosaurs drink that water as well. The same exact thing. And to really make things a bit grody is, at some point, the water we're drinking could have been someone's urine. Whether it be from a person or an animal, you name it. Any living organism, it could have came from their body. And that's why oftentimes we have to have these wastewater and stormwater treatments. So it's quite amazing, Like, this water that could be below me was at one point maybe dinosaur pee. I mean, we all have to do it. But that's the amazing thing about water, is that there's no such thing as new water. There's even water up in the sky right now that is cooled down in the form of clouds, water vapor. It's quite an amazing compound. It's alright, you guys. Hope you learned something out of the video, you know, in regard to oyster beds and just the sheer nature of water in general, and just how it's always existed, and just the fact that, you know, there's sometimes controversy of properly decontaminating water from wastewater and stormwater treatments. So, all right, you guys, hope you all enjoy your Wednesday, and once again, Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks, and thanks for watching. All right, take care, you guys.